Hi, I'm Jameson Roth, CEO here at Nearly Human AI. And as we get into the end of the year, it's a time when we look back at the current year to see where we've come and how our goals are looking year to date, and then look forward into the new year to see what our new goals are and what some of the opportunities that we see in the coming year look like. And one of the things that people have been talking to me about as they're thinking through the strategic planning for next year is their AI spend. So it's kind of an interesting question. And what most people are trying to figure out is, are they spending too much, too little? What should they budget for going into next year? So I thought I would break it down a little bit from my perspective to give you a few things to use to determine, what your spend maybe should or shouldn't be next year. Some people are talking about ramping up. Other people are thinking about pulling back. So what I would say is this: if you're not spending anything on AI, then it's probably time to at least get a strategy together because your competitors are probably doing something in the space. So that's step one. If you are spending on AI, then it's time to think about whether your spend is right sized for your business. And so, first, when you're thinking about the spend, there's a couple of different categories that you want to make sure that you account for. Obviously, it's your subscriptions, inference spend that you might have in cloud solutions if you have some internal IT, the labor that you're putting into this, and that's consultants, but also your internal labor. So, the labor that your own employees are spending on this. And sometimes that's a bit tricky. It might be a little bit lost in the sauce in terms of what percentage of time people are spending to implement AI, test things. But that's something that's good to know, even if it's just as an estimate to get yourself aligned with what your costs look like, because that can actually be a fairly big hidden cost that you want to account for in your AI strategy. The next thing to think about is your timeline. How long have you been spending this year, and how long running are your projects? Typically, we want to see projects return value in no more, sorry, than 6 months. So if you have something that's been going on for 9 or 12 months, or maybe more, those are projects that you really want to revisit. It shouldn't take you that long to start getting value out of those projects. It might mean that the scope is too broad. It might mean that things are flailing on the project, and it's time to reassess your approach. The next thing I would say is with your AI systems is to look at the adoption. You want to really get a handle on deployed AI tools and how widely they're being used within your organization. Good tools should see 70% adoption pretty fast, because they're going to be valuable and your employees are going to see that. It's going to make their lives easier. If you're not seeing those kind of adoption rates, you really want to drill into it because that could be a big problem. And then last, you want to take a look at your results. And so micro and macro results, right? So first off, make sure that you're measuring those to some extent. So when you're looking at inference on automations, you want to know how often, how frequently they're being used, and in what capacity. What those automations are doing for you, so you can kind of get an understanding of what kind of processes are being automated, what kind of savings you might be garnering in that area. And then just step back and look at it from a macro perspective, right? So if you look at things like your headcount, your revenue, is your revenue moving up while your headcount stays static? Or are you able to grow faster this year compared to last year because of what you're implementing? And how connective can you get between the results and your AI implementation? So once you think about all of that, then it's time to look at your return on investment. And this is the big one, right? So you need to get a handle on what you think your total spend is in your different projects in different areas, and then what you're getting back from that spend. Because the thing with AI is when it's done correctly and the projects are well defined, the automations are tight, you really should see a positive return on investment pretty quickly with these systems. And if you're not seeing that, it's a really good time to reassess. So when you think about your spend going into next year, get your hands around these different facets of your AI strategy and understand what's going on there, because you're going to want to look at two things. If you have a massive return on investment for the AI products and projects that you have put in place this year, you're going to want to think about recouping some of that savings and actually reinvesting and taking the next step where it makes sense, because you've clearly shown that it's applicable to your business and there's probably more opportunity. On the flip side, if you have a lot of spend, but you're having a hard time connecting that spend to value that it's returning, it might be time to take a pause and pull back, start looking at measuring results and figuring out exactly what's going on. Because if you have long running projects that are not really returning a demonstrable value, that budget could just be more throwing, good money after bad going into next year. And you want to pull back and reassess the approach before you commit more dollars to going forward with what's going on right now. So that's a few items to think about as you're doing your strategic planning for next year. If you have any questions, or you just simply need a sounding board to think about what's happened this year with your automation strategy, or put a strategy together for next year, reach out to us. We'd be happy to sit down with you free of charge and do a consultation to help you understand from our perspective what that AI strategy looks like, and give you some ideas for how to proceed into next year to make 2026 the most profitable, productive year possible.